justices, I would have favored justices like Roberts and Alito, Scalia, and Thomas. I like justices that follow the Constitution, do not make law from the bench. I would have much rather had a justice of that nature.
We're going to pause for a quick commercial break. The debate continues when we return. Welcome back to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. Our continuing debate. We have about a little bit more than 30 minutes left to go. A lot of questions to get to, so let's get started. This first one to Governor Romney. Peggy Noonan, President Reagan's former speechwriter, recently wrote in the Wall Street Journal, and I quote, "George W. Bush destroyed the Republican Party, by which I mean he sundered it, broke its constituent pieces apart, and set them against each other. He did this on spending, the size of government, war, the ability to prosecute war, immigration, and other issues." Is the Republican Party better off than it was 8 years ago?
I don't think we'd say it's better off than it was 8 years ago. To be truthful, I think the 8 years that you've seen, and I don't blame that on President Bush. I blame that on Washington. I look at what he tried to do. He took on some tough issues. He took on Social Security, for instance, put forward a plan to reform Social Security, and the other side of the aisle said, "What me worry? We got no problem." And they were unwilling to become engaged and to take that on. He was hit by something which completely took his agenda off course, and that was the Iraq conflict and the attack of 9/11 and Afghanistan. All these things came together. He did something for our party that was important to do, which is to show that when someone attacks America, there will be consequences. And he kept us safe these last 6 years. And that's a very important legacy that he left for the Republican Party in a positive way. And I watch with horror as I watch the Democratic candidates for president all having a competition. When asked, is it more important that we win in Iraq or that we get out? It was very clear in the answer of all three candidates, getting out was more important than winning, and they're wrong. And I'm pleased that this president has stood for strength. There are places, however, that I think you look and say we've weakened ourselves. One is with regards to spending. We have overspent in Washington. Even discretionary funds have gone up well above inflation. I count them in inflation less 1%, but that was a problem. We did not deal with entitlements. He tried. He did not get the support he needed. He did fight for better schools. I think No Child Left Behind takes the ball forward, not backward. Okay. So we made some progress, but we're in the house that Reagan built. It's important that we, as Republicans, stay in the house that Reagan built. If we want to take the White House again, social, economic, and foreign policy conservatives have to come together.
Let's talk about foreign policy. You're all going to be able to weigh in on the question of Iraq. Let's go right now to Janet for the first question.
Yeah, I'd like to start with Governor Romney. Obviously, Iraq is still a major issue in this campaign. And over the last few days, there's been a real back and forth going on here. Senator McCain has said over and over again that you supported a timetable for phased withdrawal from Iraq. Is that true?
Absolutely, unequivocally, if I can get that word out, unequivocally, absolutely no. I have never, ever supported a specific timetable for exit from Iraq. And it's offensive to me that someone would suggest that I have. And I have noted that everyone from Time Magazine to Bill Bennett over there to actually CNN's own analyst, he said it was a lie. And it's absolutely wrong. I do not support that, never have. And Senator McCain pointed to an interview I had back in April with ABC when I said that our president and their prime minister should have timetables and milestones. We have timetables and milestones for progress that we're making together. But I never suggested a date specific to withdraw. And actually, she asked me a question. The next question was, if Congress were to give you a date specific for withdrawal, would you sign it or veto it? I said, I'd veto it. I'm opposed to setting a specific date for withdrawal. By the way, we've had since that time 10, 12 debates. Senator McCain never raised that question in any of those debates. If he ever wondered what my position was, he could have raised it. I instead have pointed out time and time again, and let me make it absolutely clear again tonight, I will not pull our troops out until we have brought success in Iraq. And that means for me that we do not have safe havens for Al-Qaeda or Hezbollah or anyone else. that our troops have secured the population from that kind of threat, that they will not have safe havens from which they could launch attacks against us. And if there's any misunderstanding, those words should make it perfectly clear, as have every single debate that I've attended,
Senator,
15 debates. I do not propose, nor have I ever proposed, a public or secret date for withdrawal. It is simply wrong. And by the way, raising it a few days before the Florida primary, when there was very little time for me to correct the record, when the question I was most frequently asked is, oh, you're for a specific date of withdrawal, sort of falls in the kind of dirty tricks that I think Ronald Reagan would have found to be reprehensible.
Senator McCain, tough words.
Well, of course, he said he wanted a timetable. Before that, we have to understand that we lost the 2006 election, and the Democrats thought that they had a mandate. They thought they had a mandate to get us out of Iraq. And I was prepared to sacrifice whatever was necessary in order to stand up for what I believed in. Now, in December of 2006, after the election, Governor Romney was asked what he thought about the surge. He said at that time, I won't weigh in, I'm a governor. At the time, he didn't want to weigh in because he was a governor. I was out there on the front lines with my friends saying, we not only can't withdraw, but we got to have an additional troops over there in order for us to have a chance to succeed. Then in April was a very interesting year in 2007. That's when Harry Reid said, the war is lost and we got to get out. And the buzzword was timetables, timetables. Governor, the right answer to that question was no, not what you said. And that was, we don't want to have them lay in the weeds until we leave. And Maliki and the president should enter into some kind of agreement for, quote, timetables. Timetables was the buzzword for withdrawal.
Senator?
I'm using the whole quote where you said I won't
not using the actual quote?
The actual quote is, we don't want them to lay in the weeds until we leave. That is the actual quote, and I'm sure fact checkers. It means a timetable for until we leave.
Senator, let me jump in. The quote that I have.
Is it not fair to have the person who's being accused of having a position he doesn't have be the expert on what his position is? How is it that you're the expert on my position when my position has been very clear? I'll tell you.
I'm the expert.
This is the kind of.
I'm the expert on this. When you said I won't weigh in, I'm a governor. You couldn't weigh in because you were a governor back when we were having the fight over.
That's a separate point.
The fact is
that's a separate
that
point.
I have fought for this surge. I have said we need to have this succeed. I know the situation in Iraq, and I am proud to have supported this president and supported the fact that we are succeeding in Iraq today. If we had waited and laid in the weeds until we leave, then Al-Qaeda would have won and we would be facing a disastrous situation.
There's two separate issues being discussed, and I just want to clarify both of them. First of all, to Senator McCain, to Senator McCain, the quote is from Governor Romney on GMA that you're quoting. The actual quote is, well, there's no question that the President and Prime Minister al-Maliki have to have a series of timetables and milestones that they speak about, but those shouldn't be for public pronouncement. You don't want the enemy to understand how long they have to wait in the weeds until you're going to be gone. He does not say he is supporting a withdrawal.
You don't have to wait until the enemy lays in the weeds until we leave. That means that we were leaving.
It's open to interpretation.
If we weren't leaving, how could the enemy lay in the weeds?
Senator, if you had a question on this, you could have asked it.
Could not weigh in as governor on the surge when it was a critical issue.
Okay, so that's the second issue. So let me just allow you to respond to the issue of the going to be gone, laying in the weeds question.
Timetables was the buzzword for those that wanted to get out.
Okay.
The answer was no.
And you're saying point blank you did not want to get out then. What did you mean by that statement?
That we have a series of timetables and milestones for working on the progress that they're making, the progress we're making, the rule of law, what their soldiers are doing, what our soldiers are doing, how many troops they're able to recruit, how well trained are they. And as a matter of fact, the individual asked in the following question, do you have a specific time? Would you support Congress if they gave you a specific time? I said absolutely not. And by the way, this has been around. If